Spencer Michael, for those of you that recognize him, maybe Damon Dice is the
Yeah,
alter
so
ego.
my real name is Spencer Barrick. Stage name is Damon Dice. If you see me on film in some realms. So
No, but you're a master connector, dude. Why Damon Dice?
why Damon Dice? So it was actually I kind of stumbled upon it. I was just going down the alphabet.
Yeah.
Like Jen Jameson was like the biggest adult star of all time. So it was like JJ, or so it was like going down. Aaron Adams, Bobby, whatever. That was BB, CC, and I was like D. I got to the D's. I was like David, Derek. I was like, Damon just popped in my head, and then Dice. Like it just kind of came together. So it was one of those. I was smoking a little cannabis. It was a high.
There
It was
you
a high
go.
idea. It just popped in
A
my head.
high idea. I love
It was a
that.
high idea. So it just literally the name popped in my head, just manifested it.
Man,
And then I had an epiphany actually. I was driving through Vegas a few years ago, and I was driving past a strip, and there's a hotel called the Nomad.
yeah.
So I was looking up Nomad. It's like Nomad. I was like, Nomad spelled backwards is Damon.
Yep.
I was like, I'm a nomad in life. Like I'm a traveler. Like I'm very nomadic. I kind of just go in different places, whether it's business or personal life. So it was kind of like an epiphany. I'm like, I'm a nomad. Like this fits me. So it was like I manifested that. So that was kind of a cool realization. And
Oh yeah.
living in Vegas, that the lifestyle, the gambling, and like many side dice has many sides. So I have many sides to who I am and what I do. So
Yeah,
it
man.
kind of encapsulates who I am.
Feel like you have a background that not too many people have
It's
or
different.
can relate to.
It's
Like
different.
businessman, you have sales experience, Pornstar, you're a strategist now with Harvin or Hardin.
Jardin, yeah.
Yeah, like I don't think anybody else really fits that bill.
It's a very unique situation I'm in. The whole porn thing, it's been an outlet for me to explore different realms. Just because it's such a wow factor thing. People ask me like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, I do porn. So it's always like
Yeah.
they have questions.
Uh-huh.
There's always follow-up questions because it's a very unique job, very unique situation. You don't meet a lot of porn stars. If I don't want to tell people what I do, say I'm in an Uber and like, cause you're riding Uber sometimes like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, I'm just getting in the airport. I don't want to talk about being a porn star. So
Or sales.
I'm like, oh, I'm a plumber.
Yeah.
So I'm not like lying to them.
Yeah.
But I'm not like,
There's not being as transparent as you could be.
yeah, they're not going to ask me like, oh, you're a plumber. It's just, what are you going to ask a plumber?
Yeah.
So I just kind of, it depends on the situation if I'm talking about it or not. When I meet new people, I don't like lead off like, oh, I'm a porn star. Like that's like an ego thing to be like, oh, I do this. Like that's just a facet of who I am and what I do. So
Mhm.
it's probably the most unique part of what I do, but it's just a part of me. So
Why'd you get into it? Like, what was the reasoning?
yeah, so I got into the industry in 2013. So in college, I started a live streaming app called EyeBar.
Yep.
EyeBar, I'd live stream. So this was like when apps first came out.
Right.
I actually launched on 4/20/2012 at my alma mater, East Carolina University.
Yep.
So it was a live streaming app that would show bars, clubs, restaurants, music festivals, charity events. So say we're going out tonight in Vegas, and you click on Las Vegas, it'd have a drop down list of all the bars and clubs in the city. You click on Jewel. And it would show like a live stream of that location. So it'd be a bird's eye view to kind of see the crowd, see what it was like. And you could literally swipe your phone and bar hop from your phone. So when I launched this in my college town, like that was something we always kind of had a question. Like we're pre-gaming on a Friday night. We're sitting around like, where should we go tonight? And it's like, that's where the idea popped in my head. It's like, I wish I had an app where I could see these different bars and kind of see what it was like. So that's kind of where the idea started. I was in an entrepreneurship program at my university and was able to pursue that and kind of looked into it, had the app built out, and kind of something that was a project in college actually turned into like a career for me post-college. Like I pursued that right out of college. So I was doing this live streaming app. I won grants from the university. I won a bunch of entrepreneurship contests, pitch contests, ended up moving to Raleigh, North Carolina. I was in this tech incubator at Duke University. So I was like with the smartest minds in the world,
Right.
Duke, NC State, Chapel Hill kids. Like these kids are geniuses. So I was working with all the best minds in technology. Building out an app in 2011 was very expensive because at this point where I think we're in the iPhone 2, apps are, there's very few app builders at the time because apps are new to the market. So I was paying my app developers close to $100 an hour. So the grant money was going fast. So I was like, shit, I need to make money to keep my company going.
Right.
And like, I didn't have many options. I was working with cameras because I was using IP webcams to film or to stream from the restaurants and the clubs. So like researching webcams, like I knew about webcamming and like the adults or the girls that webcam from home, like shit, like these girls are making good money. I'm like, how can I tap into that?
Yeah.
So one of my friends I went to college with, we started webcamming together to help fund my startup. So that's how I kind of got into the adult space. Was we were literally webcam using the cameras I was using for my business at home. I configured them to work on the website on the cam site. And we were camming, and that's kind of how that started. Fast forward, the girl that I was webcamming with, she started shooting amateur adult content in Florida. She was getting into it. She moved out to California, started shooting professionally. Long story short, she became the best new starlet in all of porn in the entire world in 2014. So she won Performer of the Year for XBiz, AVN. Like she was like the top. She won Rookie of the Year for all of porn. And this is someone that's my good friend, like someone I was working with. I'm like, oh shit, now I'm meeting all these porn stars. I'm a broke startup entrepreneur. I need the money. So I was like, shit, I was holding off as long as I could. I'm like, no, I can never do porn. I was very like,
Really?
I was very like against it. Like I was like, oh, because I was college educated. Like I had so much going for me. I was like, porn would be a step backwards. But it got to a point, desperation. I was like, all right, I got to survive. I got to pay my bills. I got to keep my startup going. So I made the jump and got into porn professionally.
Now, when you first started, were you getting paid like money to survive and pay the bills, or was it more like, okay, I can live?
Oh no. Starting out, being a male adult star, and this was pre OnlyFans. Like this was none of that existed really. Being an adult or like a male getting in the industry is tough. Like it's like you go through the ringer. Like you're getting paid. My first couple of scenes, I was getting paid like $200-$300 a scene, like very minimal. And it was like I was working with amateurs. Like I wasn't working with the porn stars. I was working with, girls that are new or like girls that are, I guess, a little less desirable. They're not like career porn stars. These are girls just in and out. So definitely had to go through the ringer with that.
Yeah.
My first few months, like I was shooting maybe getting booked for like 2 or 3 shoots a month. It wasn't enough. So I was a couple months in, I went to my agent. I was like, I'm not working enough. I quit. Like I'm done. It's like, no, we'll get you more work. I'm like, all right. Eventually started picking up. But for me, I'd say it took at least like 2 years to really like get my stride with it and really start because to advance as an adult male, like as a male performer, you have to have the big name porn stars vouch for you. Like you have to have like, like the Alexis Texas or the Riley Reeds, you have to shoot with them and then be like, oh, he's a good performer. They talk and they will tell their peers. And like, that's kind of how you get in. So it took me a while to start really shooting with the big name girls. And once I did, that's how I started getting a name for myself. The company saw that I was doing good on set, giving them good product, doing well performing. The girls enjoyed working with me. So like, it just takes time and your reputation builds. With the girls, they become bigger and more prolific out the gates because they're the stars.
Yeah.
Like we're just there to make them look good. So that's what I see my role is. I've always kind of looked at what I do as a male porn star is like, I'm there to make my female counterparts look good. It's not about me because most of the adult content that people are watching, they're not watching it because 80% of porn watchers are males. So they're not watching it to watch me. They're watching it to watch the female. So I'm trying to make them look good. So that's why me being an athlete most of my life, like I've always been a team player. So like, I'm like, all right, I'm not gonna be selfish. Like, cause if you're selfish on a porn set as a guy, like it's not looking as good on camera. Like, cause it's just all about the angles and if it feels good for me, it probably doesn't look good on camera for the most part. So that's the thing people don't realize. It's like on a porn set, it's the angles and the stuff we do is not what you do at home. It's completely different. Like it's
legit acting.
It's legit acting. It's acrobatics. Like it's, again, like we are the pro athletes of sex. Like the stuff that I'm doing, like throwing girls up, flipping them around, like all this crazy, like hardcore positions. Like you don't want to do that at home. You don't want to like meet a girl and like try to impress her and do this. Like that's like, it's not, it's not for everyone. It's, it's just, it's not normal sex. It's acrobats. It's for the camera. I'm acting. So that's definitely something where people are like, how do I learn about sex? I'm like, don't watch porn. I tell them, don't watch porn. Different. It's completely different.
Isn't that so backwards too? Like,
it really is. And also later in my career, like I've started shooting for more companies it's more real life sex. So a company I was working with, I've been working with a lot more. It's called Balesa. So Bless is actually the top adult site for women in the world. So it's more women-based adult content. So it's like more romantic, more real life. Like when I show up to set for a Bless shoot, they say have sex how you'd have sex at home. So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm going to last like 4 minutes. Because on a porn set, it's like we have to be having sex for 30 to 45 minutes, and this is like high intense, like at like. So and I can last that long in a porn set because it's not the most comfortable. So it's like I can make it last. But at home, like it's really feeling good. It's like I'm a few minutes. I'm like, whoa, I gotta slow down here.
Like, so you want me to enjoy this? Like, this is gonna be quick, guys.
It's definitely it's different, but I enjoy that because like it's authentic. And at this point in my career, I want to be doing things that are more authentic. Like I don't want to be doing like the stepbrother, stepdad stuff anymore. Like I've done that. So it's like now I'm getting gray hairs. I'm getting older. So I'm not the stepbrother anymore. I'm the stepdad. I'm like, I'm going to retire before I start playing the stepdad. I'm at that point in my career now. So we'll see.
How old are you?
I just turned 35 this week.
You're not old.
Yeah.
I guess that could be a dad.
Yeah. Yeah. It's more stepdad than stepbrother. I'm too old for like the college roles now. So it's like, you know, but I have an extensive resume. I've been the mailman. I've been the pizza guy. I've been a lawyer. Like if I were to have like,
is there like a porn like resume that you have to like?
No. But like I kind of want to just go through my catalog of videos because I've shot probably over 1,200 scenes professionally in my career. It would just be funny to go through and like make a resume of all the jobs that I've had and just make like a mock. Like this is my resume. It'd be like a scroll.
Jeez. So like when you're acting, because it is acting, like you said, it's not. Mm-hmm. You're almost not enjoying it, right? You're making your counterpart look good because, like you said,
I still enjoy it. Like I'm not saying I don't enjoy it, but it's just different. You know, it's different than how I would do it at home. But yeah, I'm still enjoying it.
It's like, kind of hard to get.
I could think of worse jobs I could have.
Yeah, like it's almost like hard to get a hard on if you're not enjoying it.
Yeah, if you're not enjoying it, it makes it hard. So like,
which makes it interesting.
I have to go like for a lot of times, and again, me being an athlete, most of my life, like I carry over a lot of the things I learned being an athlete, especially like training, just like mental toughness.
Yeah.
Someone I really looked up to and like just was a big part of kind of who I became was Kobe Bryant.
Yep.
Because just the way he played the game, the way he approached it mentally, physically, like it was chess to him. Like he already had things figured out in his head. He played it out in his head before he went on the court. So even like with me, I kind of use that same mentality, the Mamba mentality. It's like, I'm already playing in my head what these 30 minutes are going to be. So I already know, like I'm already manifesting that in my head. So it's all kind of second nature. Mm-hmm. So I'm not thinking about it. I'm not worried about the 20 people in the room, like the production, the crew, the hot lights, because we're shooting in Vegas. We're shooting in Phoenix. We're shooting in the Valley in LA. June, July, August, middle of summer, it's like 100 plus degrees out. It's fucking hot.
Yeah.
So if you're not there mentally and you're doing high intense cardio for 30 minutes, like a lot of people can't make it through that. Like it's a very intense thing. So you got to be strong mentally and be able to kind of tune everything out, like the heat, the exhaustion, the people standing around watching you. Maybe the girl's not having the best day and she's like, that's a big part too. It's like, big part of it is like my partner that day. It's like, I'm feeding off of her energy.
Yeah.
So she's having a good day. She's having good energy. That's the best thing that could happen. She's having an off day. She's having problems with her boyfriend at home. She might be in her period. There's so many different factors. So it's like, it's always, you never know coming on set sometimes.
Given it's a profession, it's interesting. So I think you're the first porn star I've actually ever got the chance to sit down and have a legitimate conversation with. Does that like psychologically mess you up when it comes to relationships outside of the job?
It's made it tough.
And have you seen it with other, like some of the girls that you've probably worked with too, who have boyfriends?
It's tough. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you're in a healthy, most traditional healthy relationships are like monogamous and like you're with one person, you're not having sex with other people. Being an adult star, like that's not the reality of it. You're having sex with other people and then you're coming home to your partner. They're like, how was your day? It's like, do I say like I had a good day? Do I say, today sucked? Like it's kind of like, it's different. It's tough. And I've dated girls that are adult performers and I've dated girls that are not adult performers while I've been in the industry. Both have their pros and cons. It is tough. Like I can see my like dating life being easier once I'm out of the industry. I'm not shooting because it's just like I'm sharing my energy with these other people. Yeah. And my time, I'm traveling. Like it's just tough. It makes it tough. And there are relationships, like there are performers that They've been together for over a decade. They're married. They have kids. They're still shooting. Like it's like, how the fuck do you guys do it? Like, how is this like? But it, like people make it work.
It's
like,
a different level of like discipline. You just gotta block it out.
It's completely different. Like I've had times where like, you know, in the past with my ex-girlfriend, like we were having issues at home. I got to go to set. She's like texting me. I'm like, oh, like I got to get out of that. Like I got to forget everything that's going on at home, because if I'm like messed up mentally and I'm like thinking about things that are upsetting me, like that's not working down there. Like I'm out. I've already lost the game. So that's what I'm saying. Again, the Mamba mentality, like you just got to block everything out, focus on your objective and make it happen.
Did you have anybody, you know, friends growing up, parents, family members, like totally against you getting into the industry? Do they have questions?
Not really. There's not anyone that's like, I wouldn't say I've lost any friends from it.
Yeah. Was it shocking for some people?
Not really.
Really?
I was promiscuous. I was promiscuous in like college and high school. Like I was always like, you know, having a good time. No. And again, like I realized when I was in college, I was at a college party and I ended up having like a threesome with these two girls at a party, and we were in the bathroom actually. This was happening, and the door busts in, and like people at the party knew we were having a threesome, and like everyone's like watching, and I'm just there with two girls, and there's a cake involved.
That's basically your first. Your first.
Yeah, and like people were watching, and I was just like, they're cheering, and I was like enjoying it. I was like, oh my God, like I like this. Like it was they call it exhibitionism. Like I like being an exhibitionist. I like when people watch me. I feel uncomfortable when I watch other people have sex. Like it's weird to me. Like, but when people watch me, like I had that same feeling when I was an athlete and the fans were cheering me on, or like it was that same kind of rush. It was like a dopamine hit. Like that, the fanfare is what really drove me to it. So I actually enjoy doing that in front of people.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's.
You could say that was like your first like unpaid gig.
Yeah, it was definitely it was yeah.
So what sports did you play growing up? You mentioned you were an athlete.
Baseball was my first love.
Okay.
So grew up playing baseball. I was born in Long Beach, California, so part of my few years of my life I grew up at the beach, so surfing, surfed my whole life. Moved to the East Coast, Maryland when I was 5 years old. Snowboarded. I've been snowboarding for the past, I'm 35 now. Been snowboarding for the past 25 years. So since I was 10. So I played baseball, football, basketball all through high school. Baseball was my main sport. So I actually went to East Carolina University, which is a pretty big baseball program. Went there to play baseball. I was an outfielder. I've got I guess people ask me like, what's your talent? Like my talent that I can really say I've got a fucking talent is my arm. So I've got a crazy strong arm. Like I wouldn't even say strong, but I can throw shit really far.
Yeah.
I can throw a baseball from, if I'm standing on a football field, I can be behind one field goal post and throw it field goal post to field goal post across the field.
Oh, wow.
So that's over 360 feet.
Yeah.
And I'm clearing it with enough room. So it's like, I can just fucking launch a ball. So I was at baseball practice one day, throwing the ball from the outfield, and there's just one, they're hitting the balls out to us in the infield or the outfield, and we're throwing them at home plate. I just uncorked one. It flew into the stands, and the track coach, because the track was right next to the baseball stadium, the track coach was like, holy shit, that kid's got a cannon. Yeah. So he hit up the baseball coach. He's like, hey, can I use your right fielder to throw javelin? Because our javelin thrower at East Carolina, he was graduating that year. So they were actively recruiting a javelin thrower. He's like, can we have him throw javelin? So I get a call from the track coach, and he's like, would you want to throw javelin? I'm like, what the hell's a javelin?
Yeah. Because
where I grew up in Maryland, we didn't have javelin. So javelin, for those of you that don't know, it's the spear. So it's it's an Olympic sport where you run and throw the spear. So he's like, you want to throw? I'm like, I don't know what that is. So he had to show me YouTube videos, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. So at first I was like, oh, that's easy. I could, I just got to throw this far, because I could throw a baseball far. I could throw things far. I was like, oh my God, the thing was going sideways. It wasn't going far. I was like, how is this possible? And learning the mechanics of it with the javelin, it's not about arm strength. Arm strength is a plus, but it's all about core strength, explosiveness, flexibility. There's so many aspects to a javelin throw where it's just your arm is just the last thing going through. Your power is down here. So I had to learn from scratch on how to become a successful javelin thrower. So it's something that, similar to the adult industry, I didn't know anything about it. I started doing something that was brand new to me, and really just dedicated my life to it and practice every day and watch videos all the time and just train. Ended up becoming a 2-time All-American, school record holder. We got to a point I was training for the Olympics. So I was like, that was my thing. So I became really successful with javelin.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was kind of like how I even like me doing porn now. It's like, it's an extension of me doing javelin because like I still get to train as an athlete. Like what I do, I have to be at a very high caliber of like physical capabilities. Like I have to keep in shape. I have to have good diet. I have to be hydrated. I have to get good rest. Like there's so many aspects I have to be elite as an athlete to perform well at my job. So that's kind of how it's ironic how it's like I have made that transition, but it's still like my sports background really has prepped me for this life. So
oh my God, everything comes full circle, right?
It does, yeah. And it's like
everything connects at the end of the day.
It does. So it's cool, and it's being an athlete and entrepreneur, and then going into porn, transitioning back into entrepreneurship, and I'm back into athletics now. I'm playing in a semi-pro wiffle ball league here in Las Vegas, which is really cool. Like, so
you guys are using the O.
We're using the O. Yeah, we're called the Ones. And
there you go.
And it's the crazy part about that. Full circle. It's like I'm playing against someone in my league that I watched playing minor league baseball in 2000 when I grew up in Maryland. Like he played for the farm system for the Baltimore Orioles. I watched this guy pitch for that team, and now I'm playing against him. Like 25 years later, it's like what? Like it's so crazy. So. Again, like I get to still play sports and still be active and like, yeah, so it all kind of connects.
Where do you go snowboarding?
I like to travel to go snowboarding. Actually past 2 times I've gone this season, I've gone to Lee Canyon here in Vegas.
Nice.
So it's 45 minutes from the Strip. It's actually crazy enough. Our local mountain in Vegas has gotten 5 feet of snow in the past 3 weeks. So
I don't think it's crazy at all. It's like 40 degrees.
Well, yeah, Vegas doesn't get snow like this. Like it'll dust and get a couple inches here and there. Like over the past few years, like Vegas, as far as I've known, or like I've never heard, like this is record snow that Vegas has gotten this year, which is crazy. Love going to Tahoe, Whistler in Canada, Colorado. So I've been all over the country snowboarding, Canada too. So that's my winter sport.
What about Vail?
Have not been to Vail yet. I've been to Breckenridge and I've been to Aspen. I have not been to Vail.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's on my to-do list for sure.
Oh yeah. There's always certain spots like Big Bear.
Oh yeah. Big Bear
in California.
Cause that's like an hour outside of LA. Like when I was living in LA, Big Bear was the local mountain. Mammoth, been to Mammoth a lot. So like it's definitely spoiled living in California or this area because there's so many mountains within a few hours.
Right.
So
that's what I love about living on the West Coast is that like if you want to go snowboarding, if you want to go to the cold, if it's too hot here, like in Phoenix, if it's 100 degrees, go to Flagstaff, it's like 60.
There's been days, like this is where it's like mind blowing about California. There was a day a couple years ago where I went surfing in the morning, first thing in the morning, and went snowboarding that same day. So I was literally like up surfing at 7 in the morning, surfed till like 10, up in the mountain by like 12:30, 1 o'clock, 4 hours of snowboarding. So I was like literally on the beach in the mountain the same day. Like I was like, this is mind blowing. All within like the beach, obviously in Los Angeles right there. And then hour and change up the hill is Big Bear. So it's like.
Would you ever want to go back to Cali? You like Vegas?
Yeah, eventually. My parents are there, my grandparents, cousins. So like my family's there. I'm in LA a lot as it is. So it's I'm still there enough to where I'm not missing it.
Yeah.
Vegas is good for business. Like obviously it's like the entertainment capital of the world. Do productions out here for the adult side of things. A lot of podcasts to help out with production side. Jardin's a dispensary I work with here in Vegas. So it's like I got a lot of stuff going on here. I see the potential of where Vegas is going, especially how it's growing in the entertainment space. Formula One's coming up in November, which is going to be massive. It's going to be the biggest event ever in Vegas. Super Bowl's next year here in Vegas. Like now we have the professional sports teams. We have the NFL team. We've got the NHL team. We're going to have a baseball team and a basketball team within the next 3 years too. So it's going to be a full sports town. There's just so much going on here. It's like, this is a place to be to really set up and establish.
Yeah.
LA's kind of dying down. Like it's not what it used to be. Like it's
everybody's fleeting.
Since the pandemic, like so many people left Los Angeles and moved to Vegas or Phoenix or
Austin, or
Nashville,
all these places.
Yeah. So people were like literally leaving. So it was like a big exodus. So I was one of those exities during the pandemic. So
man, in Vegas is a cool spot too, because like we mentioned, 45 minutes, Go to the mountains, right?
Yeah, it's
You
like
get the strip right here,
you never
entertainment.
expect it. Like people are like,
you
wait,
know?
the mountains are it's like Vegas is literally in a valley.
And it's a
We're
lot more
surrounded-
calm than most people would think who have never visited.
Yeah,
They think Las Vegas, they think the strip.
I thought the same thing when I first was coming to Vegas in my 20s. Like I'd come here for 3 days for like a bachelor party or concerts, and 3 days partying. Like that feels like a week. Like I've had times where I'm like, I'm never coming back to Vegas ever fucking again.
Yeah, right.
But living here, you can't. It's not sustainable.
No.
So it's like I'm now living in Vegas. I'll go out maybe once a month. Like and it's like a special event.
Oh, as soon as you live in an area, like I grew up in like right outside New York City. I've
Okay.
never been to the Empire State Building.
Yeah.
Like once you actually are in that environment, you don't want to go to the strip.
Exactly.
Like
yeah.
maybe
So-
for like a birthday party. if
Yeah,
someone wants to go
exactly.
into
And
town.
the hard part of living in Vegas too is like I've got friends around the country and around the world too, but at least once every 10 days, I got a friend like, hey, I'm coming to Vegas for this convention, or I'm coming here for this birthday. I'm like, oh, like everyone's got, I can't see everyone. I feel bad
Yeah.
because I got friends coming here. Like I can't make time for everyone because it's like, it happens so much because Vegas is like the most visited place in the United States.
Mhm.
Vegas gets pre-pandemic. I know the numbers at 42 million people a year. I think it was
Wow.
like 2019, kind of tapered off. But I think this past year, like it was back in the 40s in that range. So people are traveling back to Vegas. 40 million people a year. That's a lot of fucking people coming to your city. So,
Yeah.
and it's only going to be
only
higher.
getting
So
up.
yeah, so it's going to be in the 50s in the next couple of years, easily.
Like there's a lot of like we talked about Mark Wahlberg. He just moved to Henderson, right? Like people are leaving.
Yeah.
The
Shout out Marky
comforts.
Mark, Dirk Diggler. You were a big inspiration to me. Your role in Boogie Nights, like,
That's what put you on the map.
yeah, Boogie Nights. Like I was like, I remember seeing that. I'm like, wow, this is, and it really resonated with me because, like I remember watching that movie when I first started, and this was in a time I was like, oh, I don't think porn's for me. And
Yeah.
I saw that, I'm like, damn, like this kind of cool. Like he made it cool for me, and I saw he really inspired me. I was like, I'm gonna keep this going, and it was just kind of because you saw in that movie like the different nuances of the
Yeah.
adult industry, and I was like seeing things I would see on set. I'm like, wow, this is kind of like this is realistic. Like
Uh-huh.
whoever wrote that, like they definitely been on a porn set because there was a lot of realism in that movie. So Mark Wahlberg was an inspiration for what I'm doing now. So
That's awesome,
Yeah.
dude. And you had everything else going. Whatever happened to EyeBar?
it just kind of fizzled out.
Fizzled out?
Yeah, I got too far into the adult side of things, like adult industry,
Yeah.
and just kind of lost that passion. Also had like a technical co-founder that stole money, and that was just like
That sucks.
it was just a mess on that end, and just really deflated me on that. And just the stuff the adult side was really starting to like pick up. I'm like,
Yeah.
EyeBar was my baby, but I realized it was like I was holding on to something that, it just
It's tough.
yeah,
It's
it
tough
was
to let
It
go
was-
of things.
It was something that
nothing's
was
working.
like 2 years of my life, like
Mhm.
every day and night. Like that was my baby. Like I had the idea, built it out, like everything. So, but it was an amazing experience. Like I learned more in that 2 years of building a startup company than I learned in 4 years of college.
Isn't that nuts?
I learned so much because you're literally A to Z building a company. You're learning about IP, you're learning about trademarks, you're learning about contracts, like non-disclosure agreements. Because if I'm talking to someone, telling them ideas, like I need to protect myself. Luckily, my lawyer was one of my fraternity brothers. I was a few years older, so like he really looked over me. So I made
Mhm.
sure like I had all the right trademarks and had the right agreements. But just learned marketing, sales, like everything from scratch. Like I was in. Like I had a business minor. My main degree was hospitality management, the
Mhm.
conventions and special events. Took business classes, but the business you're not learning shit in college.
Right.
You have to be thrown to the wolves to really learn. So my knowledge in business was definitely just bootstrap, learning it myself, going out in the field
Mhm.
and just like learning.
Especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, like you go to college to learn how to be an employee.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. So
That's
it
what
was just
everyone
like,
says.
yeah. And for me, like I've learned more from my failures than I have my successes. So that's also something like ultimately like the business failed, but what I learned from it and all the downs and like, me fighting through, all those times where I could have given up on myself, that's what really, the benefit of that was.
Mhm.
So it's like, I tell I mentor entrepreneurs at my university, other universities. I just tell them like, roll with the punches. Like you're going to have those defeats. You're going to have those losses. Like you're not going to win all the time. So like, that's the biggest thing. It's like, you got to learn from that. You got to learn from your mistakes. Don't make the same mistake twice. And like shit's going to happen. And the ones that win, they're the ones that make it through the adversity. So that's
Mhm.
what I tell people. Like that's the biggest thing is just, you got to fight through adversity because once you get to a point where you're successful, you're going to realize that those times where you got beat up, like that's where you're actually learning.
Mm-hmm.
You're not learning so much from the successes. Like you're learning from those, like your rock bottom. Like that's where I've learned my biggest lessons.
Mm-hmm. What would you say was rock bottom for you? From a from like a mental standpoint.
Yeah, from rock bottom for me was, again, like when EyeBar was coming to an end, like I saw that ending. Just I lost the momentum. I lost the money that I had. Like I would have had to like raise another like 100 to 250K, and it was just like it was a whole lot. And like realizing something that I put all my time into, like that was no longer there.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first like that was very depressing. And that's around the time I moved out to California, started pursuing the adult industry. So it was just like that was a tough year for me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that was I know we mentioned like someone that was motivational for me, and someone that really helped me out was Anthony Pompliano.
Yeah.
Because when I was starting EyeBar, we were in the same tech incubator at Duke University. We were roommates for a year.
Okay.
So he was doing his tech startup. I was doing my tech startup. And like he saw like, me coming in, I was doing really well, had all this momentum, had my co-founder or tech person pretty much fuck me over, deflated the company, fuck me over. And he's like, dude, just, like keep going. Like, he's like, don't give up on yourself. And I told him, I was like, this entrepreneurship startup life isn't for me. He's like,
yeah. And
I told him, I was like, dude, I might move out to LA. Like I might pursue this adult thing. He's like, dude, go for it. So 10 years later, now we're speaking on a panel together about reinvention at a big investor conference in Miami in a few weeks. So it's just like, that's really cool that I can come back to that and, a decade later, really see where I'm at. And it's just a very unique, fun situation that like,
oh, that's really cool.
So just rolling through the punches and adversity, like never giving up. So I never gave up on myself, and my family, my friends, like never gave up on me. They were like confused, like, why the fuck are you like, you're smart. Like you started businesses, like you could work for anywhere. Like, why are you selling yourself short doing porn? So that's what like people thought. But now they see what I've built out of it, what it's created in my life.
Yeah,
so
it's not just the job itself; it's the connections. The
connections are huge. Because me being elite at what I do, it's very rare to be like an elite level adult film star. Just some perspective, there's probably one solid male porn star for every 50 females in the industry. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're a very small group. And once you're established in this industry as a male porn star, like you're in. Like it's like a fraternity, it's like a brotherhood. Yeah. So it's like even a smaller group of guys, prospectively, to like, it's hard enough to get into the NFL. There's hundreds of guys that are in the NFL, maybe like over 1,000. There's only like 20 porn stars that are like at a high level. Right. So it's like, it's harder to be at a high level where I'm at than to be a Pro Bowler in the NFL. So in that perspective, that's why like guys that are pro athletes, they look at me like, holy shit, like how do you do that? Like they're impressed by what I do and they respect what I do. So I can sit at those tables and have these conversations about success and, training and, sit at the table with billionaires. Business people are successful because they're successful in their own realms. So it really puts me at an even space, so it's a very unique situation. It's a unique conversation starter, or like people, there's always questions because it's something that's not like, I'm not an accountant or I'm not, it's just something that people have questions about because it's a very taboo, like kind of like people want to know about sex.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sex sells. And like, I've learned that in business too. So
whoever wants to say like, there's positive things that people could say, there's negative things that a lot of people would say about it, but it's like everybody's tuning in, whether you admit it or not, right?
The analytics are backing that claim up too. So it's like, people are watching.
Yeah.
So
it's like the connection thing is so big because
it's huge.
Like, a lot of people in that space who know a lot of people in other spaces, right? Yeah. And then it all comes full circle, whether it be like sports for you or sales or anything else. Like you can bring all of these people together. Yeah. Like we were talking about before, like you're the ultimate connector. You can bring people from the porn industry and introduce them to certain platforms that, they might be looking to get into, like we talked about Lisa before getting into like Sirius XM.
And the porn thing, it's become more mainstream. It's become more socially acceptable. Because before COVID, porn was just kind of like, oh, it's super taboo. People don't like talking about it. Once millions of people are out of jobs, OnlyFans became a platform that millions of people were employed during COVID. So like, it was so much more like common. People were like, oh shit, like people are doing this for survival. Like this is like a necessity, job necessity.
Yeah.
So I feel like over the past couple of years, especially with the advent of COVID, the OnlyFans really popping up and being mainstream, and like all like a bunch of models that you'll see on Instagram, like they're all doing, like everyone and their mom literally are doing OnlyFans. So it's just more open. There's adult stars that are in, like there's an adult star that's in Euphoria, which is a big show that Drake produced. It's just this Lisa Ann doing her podcast, Lexus Texas.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more open format in which the adult stars can talk and people can see them outside of being an adult star.
Mm-hmm.
Before the podcast really started popping up the past few years, big time. And the OnlyFans stuff, like we were just in our own little box. People only knew what they saw on Pornhub. Like they didn't really know about the porn stars, that we have lives outside of porn, that we have interest in businesses outside of porn. So especially again with the podcast, we can really have long form where we can talk about our experiences. And it's not just what people are seeing on the tube sites.
Mm-hmm. So. And you can really manipulate OnlyFans too. Like for people that get into that and like, I need the money, they could literally post anything they want. And as long as like the caption is kind of deceiving, it's like, $80.
It's clickbaity.
It could be nothing.
I've been clickbaited. Like I'm like, oh, like I want to see this girl. And it's just like she's wearing a bikini, like the same pictures she's posted on Instagram. Like, I got bamboozled.
Yeah, like that's $80. I'll never get back.
Yeah. So it happens, but it teach their own. So
it's still crazy. Who was the WWE? Mandy Rose. So she was a WWE wrestler, like the champion.
Yeah.
For one of their brands, and I think Fantime is the other app.
Fantime, that's a sports app.
Is it?
Fantime's Fansly.
Let me look it up. It was something kind of like OnlyFans, and it got so big.
It might be a Fansly, maybe. Fantime, I think, is like a ticketing app.
Let me see.
Is it Fantime? Maybe it is.
I'm just gonna look her because it'll be the first thing that comes up. But she made $500,000 in one day on her page.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. I guess OnlyFans, Fantime content. Yeah.
Fantime, okay.
But
so this just happened.
This happened within the last 2 months. She was the champion for like a year, like one of their highly invested.
Did they blackball her for doing it?
No, but they basically said like this is out of range in your contract. Basically, like this is breach of contract. You doing this, and it's not a good look on us. So it's either you take it down or we leave. And she's like, I'm making more money on this than I'm making working.
Yeah,
so
and she's risking like getting concussed and getting injured, and
like she was making good, like a couple million a year in WWE.
Oh, so she was like
she made $500K in one day, like Christmas week.
Yeah, I know.
And I'm like, you got to be
that's
nuts.
wild. Yeah, and there's been a lot of people like in the news every couple weeks. You see like this teacher like was doing OnlyFans, and like I saw like 2 days ago, like a mom was doing OnlyFans, and her student her kid was in school and got kicked out of school because they found out her mom was doing OnlyFans. So it's just like dumb stuff like that, but it's just
because it still has like a negative outlook.
Yeah, it just depends on your audience. So if you're in the South, the Bible Belt, like it's a little like, if you're like in Tennessee and you're a teacher and you're doing OnlyFans on the side, like no. It's more like acceptable if you're in like California or like Florida or whatever. It's places that are more like open to that stuff, but there's certain places where it's like,
like Alabama, Arkansas, Louisiana.
Like I lived in North Carolina for 7 years, and it's like a lot of people that aren't my friends are like, oh, like porn, blah, blah. Porn's the devil. It's like that Bobby. It's like Bobby Boucher's mom.
Yeah. Bobby, I don't want you doing none of that. It's, okay, mama.
Okay, mama. Okay, mama.
As he trots off out of Gator Town. Did you? What do you like better, West Coast, down south?
Ooh.
Because from someone from the East Coast, I've spent summers in LA. I've spent summers in Charlotte and the Carolinas. I've been here.
That's a tough question.
Because they are legitimately different cultures.
They're all different.
Like here, people are laid back, but at the same time, there's hustlers.
Yeah.
But everybody's still laid back, and everybody's looking at each other.
I'll do a comparison. I'll go deeper into it, but just off the back with that, comparing LA to Las Vegas, people in Las Vegas, they're here, they're hustlers. They're here to make money. They're here to do business. They're here to make moves. Mm-hmm. People in Los Angeles, they're more like trying to be famous. They want the clout. It's more, people are trying to be social media stars, trying to be influencers. Like that's more that culture, Hollywood.
Yeah.
So I've definitely seen that. I lived in Los Angeles for 7 years and then here for 3. It's definitely like people here are more about the business. There's less people that are bullshitters here. People are more straightforward.
Yeah.
People in LA, they'll fucking throw you through circles and hoops, and it's just very like ego driven. Like Vegas, it's people for the most part know what they want to do here. They have objectives. LA is kind of like, oh, how can I be famous? So I've definitely witnessed that. East Coast to West Coast, the South, it's fucking ass backwards. I love the South. People are so nice, but it's still like society wise, like if I go back and visit North Carolina, it's like Hicktown. Like it's like, people are still in the mindset and thinking of like 50 years ago. Like it's just not progressive.
People are slow too.
It's slow. Yeah. It's
very slow.
And it's like, I'm running around circles around a lot of people in like on the East Coast. I even like realized that after coming out to California and Nevada, I was kind of shorted doing my startup in North Carolina because it was very like, oh, like app, what's an app? Or like, what, like,
we'll get to that.
Yeah. So like a lot of people are like, had no fucking idea of what this was, or like, how is this? They weren't progressive on that with marketing, especially in like nightlife or events. And it was just very like, there was no marketing budgets. Like I remember like my fee to have the installation was like $100 a month. And like for a lot of these bars in like these small country towns, like $100 a month for marketing, like, oh, that's a lot of money. So it's just like, there was just not that mentality of like thinking outside the box to help promote your location, your venue. Places in California, if I would have started in Los Angeles, I would have done a lot better. It would have been a lot more venues. It would have been a lot more accepted. So I definitely didn't have like the same, it was just definitely a different business environment in both places. It's more conservative on the East Coast, especially down south. I grew up in Maryland, which is like the middle. It's not north, it's not south, it's the mid-Atlantic. I enjoyed growing up there because it was very neutral. Like it wasn't, it wasn't the South, it wasn't North. We weren't Yankees, we weren't rednecks.
It was a mix.
It's a mix, yeah. So we were like, I grew up in the suburbs. Like I'd say I lived your typical suburban life. Like nothing like lived in the suburbs. My dad commuted to Washington D.C. worked for the government every day. Like it was, I had a good upbringing, so it was very neutral where I was at. And then first time went down south. I remember driving into my college doing my what's that called? Not inauguration. It's when you're checking out your school for the first time.
We had like a Discover trip.
Yeah, it's whatever, something like a Discover. I don't remember the name of it. It has a specific name. It's like or orientation. Orientation. So I went to driving down south with my mom to my orientation for the first time. I didn't realize like how like, because where I went to school, East Carolina, in Greenville, North Carolina, it's a very country ass town. Like it's the university is a town. Outside of it, there's fields. So we're driving into town, and we're driving through the country, and I see like a bunch of white. I'm like, oh, how's it snowing in the middle of like it's July? Yeah. There's snow on the ground. We're driving through a cotton field. I'd never seen a cotton field before. So I was like, wow, like this is like I'm in the South. And then, a few miles down the road, I see a bunch of like bright green. There's tobacco fields. So it's like these cotton fields and tobacco fields, like these big houses, these were plantations. Like this was slavery here. So like I go into somewhere that's like neutral, and then living in the South, like I experienced racism firsthand. Like people were racist against me because I was a little darker and like I was from the North. So like, oh, Yankee or like, like whatever, like people are like mean.
Oh yeah.
And like I was meeting people in college, like, their like grandparents had like slaves and stuff like that. And like the heritage, even like some of the founders of the university were like slave owners. So it was just very like in that world. And it's like people are extensions of that. So there's, I witnessed a lot of racism living in the South. And then coming out to California, it's like there's levels of it, but the South is a whole different beast.
South, they're way more intentional about it.
Yeah, but people, like, the thing is, I realized too, it's like people are racist, but they don't know that they're being racist because they're taught that. They've been taught that for generations. So that's the unfortunate part. It's like, people aren't born racist. You're taught it.
Yeah.
So that's the unfortunate part. It's like it's gone through the bloodline. Like I was on the track team in college, and I had two friends, and one of my friends on the track team, like his great grandparents owned the family of my other friend on the track team. Like they had the same last name, white kid and black kid. And the family was like the owners of the other, like, I was like, what the fuck? Like, this is some crazy shit. Like, you guys are friends. Like, that's good. Like, I'm glad they were able to like squash it, but damn, like that's some generational stuff. It's
Mhm.
like, wow, like that's just mind blowing that we were there 150 years ago to where we're at now.
Oh my God.
So
You never
yeah.
see that with families anymore either. Where it's like
Nah.
there's history there.
Yeah,
It's
like, you guys are cousins, I guess. That's cool.
long distance relatives, man.
Yeah.
That's wild, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
I don't think I know anybody
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, that's the South. Like that's pretty prevalent down there.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I just remember living down south and thinking like an East Coast kid. I'm like, I'm go, go, go. Like,
Where are you from?
Jersey.
What part?
Morristown?
Is that
It's like north.
North Jersey? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like right outside Manhattan.
Okay. I'm more familiar with like the Jersey Shore.
What about Avalon, New Jersey?
Avalon, yeah.
So
yeah.
we have a house down there.
Okay. Yeah, because I had my girlfriend from college. She was from Point Pleasant. So I went up to the shore a bunch during college. So it's familiar with the shore area.
Yeah. The shores and then the Taylor ham, egg, and cheese sandwich are only delicacies. Those are the only positives I can say about that place.
Yeah, I love that. I'm drooling right now thinking about that.
I had what was it? John D. Domenico, who's Donald Trump impersonator, on yesterday at the Win, and he's just because he lived in Jersey for a little bit. I'm like, what's the one positive about New Jersey? And there's a specific answer, and he was just like, yeah, the shores. Oh, and then there's that one sandwich. What do you call that? I'm like, yep, perfect.
Yep.
That's all we had though, man. I want to talk a little bit about Jardin.
Yeah.
Just because I'm very fascinated by the brand as a cannabis consumer. Tried a few different ones out. Planet 13's like right down the street too, because they have a wide variety.
It's the biggest dispenser in the world.
Is it really?
Planet 13 is, yeah.
The one here or the one in Orange County? Just the overall brand.
Overall brand, yeah. They're probably as equally as big, but they're massive.
Yeah, but when did you get in with Jardin?
So I've been working with Jardin since 2018, so 5 years now, or 2017, 2018.
Okay.
I was actually approached by Jardin during AVN, which is the adult awards here in Vegas every year in January. I was approached by them. They're like, hey, can you bring some porn stars into the shop? We'll give them free product, give you free stuff. I'm like, cool, yeah, free weed. So that first week, or during that week of AVN, I brought in over 50 adult stars. So like, I was only planning on bringing in a few girls. Like, I know a few girls that really like smoking weed. Like, they've got big social media presence. They'll post. Word spread. So like, these girls told these girls, they told their friends. Next thing you know, by the end of the week, over 50 girls came in, got the product, had a good experience. And our social media page, our Instagram just blew up. We went from like 5,000 to like over 15,000 within 2 weeks. Like, it really just blew up. So the owner, he's like, hey, can we work together more on a long term? Like, I like what you do. Like, I like the people you brought in. So out of that, we developed an ambassador program with the adult stars. So every year we have some of the top adult stars in the world. We do social media campaigns. So we'll have them come to town. We'll do photo shoots. We'll give them free product. We'll pay them. And basically they'll do Instagram posts, wall posts, story posts, collaborations. They'll come to the store, do posts from there. So that's something I built up, and we've been doing that for 5 years now. I also do our events, special events. So say like AVN, every year for the past 5 years, I've been doing the AVN after party. So it's like after the award show, I throw the big porn awards party. Right. So Jardin's been a sponsor and help producer for that. So it's been cool because Jardin's unique because it's not just a dispensary, we're a culture. Like, we've always been entrenched. Like, our initial entrenchment in culture was hip hop, and through like Dre's, like a lot of the guys from Dre's would come over, and that's we were serving rappers on that side of things. Right. And then we started working with pro athletes. Stevie Williams is a pro skateboarder. He started DGK, one of my good friends and mentors. So Stevie was our first ambassador ever. So he was our OG ambassador. And we just started kind of piling up. So we had musicians, pro athletes. I brought in the porn stars, started working with like social influencers in Vegas, business owners. It really just kind of built this umbrella of different realms of life and business that we're able to all come together under one thing, which is cannabis. Because artists use cannabis, it helps them with creativity. Adult stars, like, I use cannabis for many different reasons. Like, I'll smoke a little bit before a shoot. It calms me down, relaxes me. After a shoot, I'll take a CBD bath bomb, like use the CBD rubs. And like, so it helps me for performance wise and just recovery. Just every walk of life, pro athletes come in, like they'll come in the shop, retired guys, and they'll get product. But that was kind of my role. Was I realized we had all these different segments. I was like, how can we put these all together? because we're very segmented. Like we have the hip hop group, we have the adult stars, but we all are working with the same company. We all have the same interests. Like, how do we put this together? So I produced our first like ambassador / influencer event. So we had 200 of our ambassadors that we worked with in all the different areas and had a big party, appreciation party. And
that's
where it really started kicking off the momentum. And out of that, it's kind of spurred the podcast and more special events. And we were just sponsoring the Rolling Stone party at the Super Bowl. So I was just in Phoenix at the Super Bowl this past week. So that was very cool because we actually had a smoking lounge at the Super Bowl party for Rolling Stone in Phoenix. Like, it's barely just became legal there. And we have we got a permit to do a smoking lounge. Like, that doesn't happen. Like, no one else could do that, but we did it, but during the Super Bowl. And we're going to be doing the same thing with the Super Bowl next year in Las Vegas with Rolling Stone. So that was kind of our, so that's going to be massive.
That was like your introduction, basically.
That was our introduction. So we're doing events like that. Travis Scott performed, Robin Thicke, DJ Bonix, who's Wiz Khalifa's DJ. He actually is my partner at Jardin. He's our he does our business development, and he's been Wiz Khalifa's DJ for 15 years. So it's someone that's like a big time DJ, but he's also an employee at Jardin. So it's cool. It's like there's people that are like professionals that do stuff like that, and then they're full time with Jardin. Just like me, like I'm a professional porn star, but I'm doing stuff with Jardin too. Right. So it's like, it's really cool. We can bring our connections and networks and talents into what we're doing with that.
Create a lot of cool projects and make some money too.
Yeah. So there's some products we're developing on the adult side of things, like some lubes and.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we're doing a lot of cool stuff. It's really neat to grow and kind of see this brand really build, because most cannabis brands just go off of like their product and their flower and what the product is. Like Jardin is like, it's literally culture. Like, we are a culture brand. So people see us as like, we're a globally known brand. So it's cool because there's, the cannabis industry is relatively new. Like, it started off in California 20 some years ago. But now it's like really become mainstream, kind of like porn. Like, that's what I've seen with the cannabis industry and porn industry. It's like, I call them fringe industries, because it's something that's like, you don't really talk about, because it's taboo, like sex and weed. But it's also, over the past few years, it's become something that's been, people realize the benefits of it, and it's like helping people out. Like, during the pandemic, weed and porn were like getting people through. Yeah. Like, people were sitting home smoking weed and watching porn like that.
It sounds sad, but it's true.
What else are you going to do? Like,
yeah.
So it's kind of cool being a part of both of those fringe industries. And I've been able to bridge the gap between the adult world and cannabis. So that's like kind of what I would say I'm the nucleus of, is like the adult industry and cannabis. And I've kind of been able to build that, kind of create that gap and like build things off of that, which has been very unique.
And it sounds like it's a win-win for everybody involved too.
Yeah, it's cool. It's we've kind of carved our own niche with it, because they're both like, again, fringe and like kind of outliers, but having them combining forces, it's been a magical thing.
How was the Rolling Stone party, by the way?
Oh wow, it was great. It was amazing. Saw a lot of celebrities, saw a lot of pro athletes that I watched.
Everyone was in town, man.
Everyone was in town. Like, I was hanging out guys that, like, I was like, wow, like these are my favorite athletes. Yeah. And some of these guys knew who I was too. I was like, wow, like, you know who I am? So, I know you are. I'm like, whoa, I know who you are. So it was very humbling, like meeting like my favorite pro athletes and find out they're my fan. Like, what? Like,
how?
Can we do a jersey swap?
Right. Seriously. Isn't that nuts sometimes when someone's like, oh man, I see your work. And you're like, what?
I'm like, you're like one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, you know who I am? Like, what?
Like, what are you wasting your time with, man?
But I've done jersey swaps with some pro athletes. So that's
cool.
Yeah, because I'm playing this wiffle ball league, so I do have jerseys.
You have a jersey.
I do have actual jerseys, so I've done some jersey swaps.
And you're prepared. You're like, oh, I got one in my trunk, man. Let's do a jersey swap. I'll sign it for you.
Yeah, so that's cool.
Are there actual, because you mentioned the cannabis infused lube. Is that a thing? Or would that be a new thing?
Yeah, no, there's been some that have popped into the market, but
really,
no one's really done it that big or successful. But we have, the pieces to really make it a big thing.
Yeah, there's like a lot of research that has to go into that.
Yeah, I've been researching formulations for the past 5 years, so I've put a lot of time, research, and energy into it. I have it down to a science, like, and one of the limitations of it is like legally through like research, you can't research cannabis. Like, there's only like 2 universities in the country that allow cannabis research. So it's been like clinical research has been limited. to be like, all right, cannabis is good for the sexual health system, like, this and that. It's only been really anecdotal, but
Yeah.
there's been enough anecdotal and kind of side scientific studies to where it's like I have enough data to show and just use and using these products and trying it out. Like I see it that it works.
Mm-hmm.
So cannabis lube, it's anti-inflammatory, which is good. Like if you're having sex, like sometimes you get pain and swelling down there. So it's anti-inflammatory, eases swelling and inflammation, increases blood flow and sensation
Nice.
because it opens up the capillaries. So it's like you're feeling more, you're hurting less. So it's just like a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm.
And also certain strains are antibacterial, antiviral.
Yeah.
So there's, could add that aspect to it too. So it's like medically good for you down there.
It's a win-win-win.
Yeah, it is. So, and it makes you feel good. So it's a lot of good things to it.
That's very interesting. Because when you said that, I'm like, I wonder how, like, if they have like test dummies working that stuff out.
But
like,
the test dummies have been me on porn sets bringing my batches because I make it at home. Like I have an oil infuser. Like I'll literally grind up different strains of cannabis and like have different terpene profiles of like caryophyllene or linalool or limonene and like. Because there's certain terpenes, like if you smoke them, they have certain effects.
Yeah.
So there's some strains that'll make you aroused. There's some strains that'll make you relax. So I've taken those strains that have already arousal properties and have infused them in oils with other different essential oils. I can't say what those are. But you are getting that entourage effect, and those working together really can do something. So yeah, it's been I've been a mad scientist kind of I've made probably 50 different formulations over the past 5 years. And
oh, wow.
I've been working on it for a while. So it's something we'll be coming out with.
And where is Jardin?
So Jardin is located, it's on Desert Inn.
Okay.
So if you're on the strip, it's about 12 minutes from the strip on the east side of Vegas.
Okay.
Yeah. So northeast Vegas.
15, 20 minutes from here?
From here, like 15, 20. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's not far. We have delivery as well. So if you don't want to go get it, we can deliver it to you.
Interesting.
And that's actually something during the pandemic, there was 50 dispensaries in Vegas. We were one of 2 dispensaries that were able to get an application to do delivery in Vegas pre-pandemic, because we actually started applying for the delivery before the pandemic even happened. So once the pandemic happened, we were able to still deliver and stay in business. 95% of the dispensaries, they were shut down for months because people couldn't go to the dispensaries. They couldn't deliver. So we were actually like lucky, I wouldn't say lucky, but we put ourselves in a situation to where, we were still functioning while the pandemic was happening. So that really saved us, was the delivery aspect of it.
Oh my God.
Because cannabis in Vegas, people don't realize it's only been legal here since 2018. So there's been medical cannabis for almost decade maybe. But non-medical or recreational has only been legal since 2018. So we're still like building out like what that looks like. Like something that just passed this year is consumption lounges.
Oh wow.
So consumption lounges are lounges in which you can consume cannabis.
Right.
So say it's like in Amsterdam, you can go to a coffee shop and smoke weed there. So it's kind of a similar concept where you can only not just buy your cannabis, but you can smoke it publicly in this safe space. So that's something that will be a new wave in Vegas. That's something that we're working on. But the cannabis tourism industry is massive. It's only growing, and we're a big part of that growth in like cannabis tourism. I remember when I was in college, because I studied travel and tourism through hospitality, and I remember my professor saying in like 2008, 2009, he's like this old country guy. He's like, cannabis tourism is going to be big. And one day he's like, people are going to be traveling for weed. I'm like, we're just like, what? Like if people are going to be traveling for weed, like, especially being in North Carolina, like weed was like, very legal. Like we're buying it like, black market, we're like, people are going to be able to travel and buy weed publicly. Like, no way. Fast forward 15 years, like, holy shit, people are traveling to Vegas just to go to the dispensaries, just to like go to Jardin and meet these artists. And he was right. Like, cannabis tourism is a real thing. People travel to Las Vegas, to California to experience weed, because if you live in Tennessee or South Carolina, Georgia, you don't have dispensaries. Like you're buying stuff black market. So people literally travel to these states to like go into dispensary. It's like, holy shit. Like there's an Apple store for weed. Like it's a real thing.
Just willingly, like, oh my God.
Yeah, that's why like
it's like Toys R Us.
A lot of people travel to Vegas. Like that's their first stop off the plane is go to the dispensaries. Because it's just like what, like it's legal here.
Yeah.
People are like, I don't have to risk getting arrested to buy like an eighth of weed. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
What would you guys say is your best product? All of them.
I'd say our top selling product is our flower because we have premium flower because our name is Jardin Premium Cannabis Dispensary. So we always have the top flower. We do really well with our merchandise too. We've really killed it in our merchandise. I'm actually wearing our newest merch drop.
Nice.
It's a Como de Jardin, kind of the Como de Garçon, like
right.
Spinoff. But we've always been really strong in the merch game. And having our ambassadors, like our DJs, like they'll be wearing Jardin stuff, and like you see us everywhere. Like Wiz Khalifa performed last night for the NBA All-Star Game thing, and our DJ's in the back with a Jardin hat and like a Jardin sticker on his laptop. So we're everywhere. So our merchandise has been a really big avenue for us to really promote and to expand the brand.
Is that a Jardin hat right there?
This is a Jardin hat as well.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. So like when I do podcasts, like I'll wear Jardin stuff. Yeah. Like we have a really strong ambassador network. Like they're very loyal to the brand. Like a lot of us, like we make it a goal, like for a podcast, we're going to be rocking our Jardin stuff. So it's like very cult-like, not cult-like, but we support the brand.
No, your markets well. Yeah.
So it's like, we have that common, interest to push the brand forward. So.
And now you got the podcast studio.
Yeah.
Which is nuts.
We just built the podcast studio. So we're hosting some podcasts there. We just opened it up last month. We've already had DJ Who Kid. We're doing his podcast there. DJ Infamous, who's Ludacris's DJ. He has a hotboxing podcast. We just dropped the episode yesterday of him and Wiz Khalifa where we hotboxed a room for 2 hours. So that was a fun one.
Amazing.
We had Alexis Texas come to town for AVN, hosted her. Alexis Fox, who's another adult star.
Yep.
Matty Ice, who you just interviewed. We're working with him at Jardin. So we're just building out. So that was another avenue for us to market and really just break out into different realms.
Now, are you looking for specific shows? Like in a specific niche?
Not really. Culture.
Yeah.
Culture. Again, like we had adult stars, we have business podcasts. Like it's, we're not tied down to one area.
Yeah.
Like we're open to stuff that people want to listen to. Even if it's not like a cannabis podcast, like it doesn't really matter to us. Like Matty Ice, like he's not a cannabis podcast. He talks about
but a lover of cannabis.
Lover of cannabis. Yeah. You have to at least like I don't say you have to consume it, but you have to support cannabis.
Respect it. Yeah.
Respect it. And at that at our studio, we can use the products and enjoy that. So I've been on podcasts where we've been able to smoke weed, and that's always kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's always fun when you're smoking weed in a podcast because the conversations go, not how you think sometimes. Like there's a lot of laughs and giggles sometimes.
Oh yeah.
You get the giggles on it. So
I've tried to work with a few different cannabis, sponsors. Did you try our product? 15 minutes later, couple 15, 20 milligrams just to see where your brain goes. I'm like, it's an interesting concept.
Yeah. And even like I love one of my favorite podcasts to watch is Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing podcast. He gets high as hell. And the stuff he says is just like, it's just hilarious. Like they're just laughing all the time. Like he's even eating mushrooms sometimes. Like
my favorites are the Cheech and Chong episodes.
Oh yeah. It's great. And even like Who Kid, who we work with, is Mike Tyson's co-host. So it's like we're kind of in that realm.
Yeah. But that's who you got to get in next. He's out here, isn't he? He's got to be here in California.
I think he lives in Miami now full time.
Oh really?
But he's Mike Tyson, so he's going to be.
So he's all over the place.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Everybody comes through Vegas.
Everyone's in Vegas. Everyone's in Vegas at least once a year, so I'm sure we'll get them in the store. Mike, if you're listening, we're gonna get you in.
No, that's awesome. I mean, Jardin's got a lot going on. You've got a lot going on. Yeah. You're connecting people left and right. I appreciate you connecting me with Matty Ice today.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming in today too, because I know you got a lot going on. What's kind of like the big project, big plan for you long term?
Big project plan for me long term. For me right now, I'm actually really pushing on the podcast side of things.
There you go.
Because you're
producing a lot.
I'm producing a lot of podcasts. I produced 18 during AVN.
Oh.
Yeah. So like I was busy that week. And then again, podcasts, adult industry podcasts, cannabis podcasts, culture we had Trevor Wallace, Stiff Socks.
Yep.
Iced Coffee Hour, like some really big podcasts who came through. So just me kind of, my role with them is like, again, I'm a connector.
Yep.
I'll get them guests. I'll give them access to studios, whether it's Blue Wire or other places in town. I just know a lot of people. So I'm seeing the potential with podcasts. I've been kind of flirting around and producing podcasts here and there for the past like 3-4 years. But now, like, obviously it's a big form of media. I am very against traditional media right now and just kind of mainstream media, and just see how deceptive and just fucked up that whole thing is. So I want to be behind a group and a voice, and there's a lot of voices in podcasts because this is real news, real stories, and this isn't as easily censored as other platforms. So like long form content like this, like it's hard to censor it. I know YouTube has its way to censor things, but it's people can speak more freely and openly and have their opinions, which is, that's the world we should be living in, where people can speak freely and say their opinions. That's like the First Amendment. So I want to be a part of something that we're able to speak our truths and speak how we feel, and not feel like we're being censored or held back or losing sponsors because we're talking about whether it's like politics or sex or cannabis. Because if we were on like a big network or whatever, like CNN on a podcast, we're talking about weed or sex, like, oh no, you can't do that. So it's just like, it's like an old system. It's a dinosaur. And that's, I really want to help push the voices of truth. And that's my ultimate goal with this, is like just to give people a voice. So I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know if I'm going to start my own production company, but I'm kind of just piecing it together. Independent contractor, I guess, just doing different things, different projects, see where it takes me.
There's a lot of money in that. Yeah.
So it's, I know a lot of people in the space. So I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it. I'm just kind of going with it right now, meeting more people, doing more podcasts. And again, which was really helped me out was being an adult star for 10 years. Like, because I've learned so many aspects of production on the back end. Like I've been over a part of over 1,000 productions. So like, I know how all the cameras work. I know how the audio works. Like I know how the lighting and production, pre-post, like planning, setting all up. So like I've been a part of productions for a decade now. So like there's a lot of stuff in podcasts that's very similar to the adult side of things. So I'm fortunate to have learned that knowledge. And also like I spent thousands of hours in front of camera. So like I've acted and I've had that camera presence. So if like I want to hop on a podcast and talk, like I feel comfortable in front of camera, and I understand talent, whether they're athletes or celebrities or actors or, because they are talent in what they do. So I have that, I can play that talent card, and I can also play that production card. So like I've lived on both sides of it. So I really get, how this works and like how it can be optimized. Yeah,
the whole spectrum of everything.
The whole spectrum. So I'm very unique, like where I'm at, and I can see both sides of it. So that's why I feel like people gravitate, because, whether you're a producer at Blue Wire, like I can talk that lingo of production side of things, but I can also like hop on as a guest and talk about that too. So it's like I've lived both worlds, which is a very unique thing. And
I've had a lot of experience, and you're very well articulated. So.
So people wouldn't think like, oh, he's a porn star, he's fucking stupid. So it's like
partier.
Porn like, star. I have my fun, but it's it's a lot of hard work and dedication. Again, like I emulated these pro athletes, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, seeing these guys go day in, day out, fucking grinding, working hard. Like it's not overnight. And a lot of people need to realize like success is an overnight thing. You got to take your hits, and you just got to keep plugging. So,
where can the people find you on social media?
So if you want to find me on Instagram, my Instagram handle is @SpencerMichaelBarrick. You can find me on Twitter. So Twitter and OnlyFans, where I keep the adult side of things. So if you want to find me there, my Twitter is the Damon Dice, and my OnlyFans, if you guys want to check that out, it's Damon Dice 8 on OnlyFans. So I've got Spencer and I got Damon, so I got the multifaceted.
Hey, he's got a lot going on, guys. You can find him on 2 different platforms, 2 different names. Check it out.